Come on in to the Awaken to Yourself podcast, where we discuss how to develop a deeper connection to yourself and therefore manifest that which you desire. My name is Fiona Christie and I'm joined by my co-host, Diane Clark Manley. Let's dive into this week's episode. This week on the Awaken to Yourself podcast, we're discussing how to nurture yourself. Stick around to the end to learn some strategies to appreciate all that you are and all that you can become, help to overturn your non-nurture habits, and highlight your unique nurture desires.
This series, The Life Shift, follows the modules from Fiona's course, The Life Shift with the Internalist Way. 12 modules which form a roadmap guiding you to connect with your own unique inner guidance system.
In last week's episode, we talked about roadmaps and using your emotional street guide to veer back on course. Today, we're looking at the module called Nurture. So stay tuned because this week we're going on a journey into putting yourself first and self-care. This quote fits so well with this week's topic of nurture. Anne Lemmet says, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. So true. She has a great sense of humour, doesn't she? Oh, God, that quote reminds me so much of Dave when technology won't work. His laptop's not going or his phone's not going, and he says, laptop's not going, help, quick. And I think, he's hoping that I'll wave some magic fairy dust. But actually what happens is I say to him, have you rebooted? Have you tried rebooting or turning it off or whatever? And I think he's hoping he won't have to do that and that I will fix all.
Yeah. And that's what we often find that we do, isn't it? We want someone else to fix us.
Oh dear. But what are we procrastinating about, do you think?
Well, I think there's many reasons. It's quite multi-layered why we put our self-care back from and put other people forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what really springs to mind when I'm teaching yoga and have done that for many years, you kind of, and I do this myself at times, I have to admit that, I think I'm time poor. And so I can't take the time away for myself because I have to give it to other people. And I think that's what we do. And so...
That's okay. Carry on.
It's my phone. You see, being interrupted. So if I stop, I'm taking time away from something that's more important than me. And what if we don't know how to actually practice self-care? And we don't identify that as a major player in our lives, isn't it? Yeah. And the other thing, and I noticed this and I practiced it when my children were younger, and it was suggested to me that actually small amounts of unplugging are way more beneficial to ourselves than larger times or longer times. And of course, if we wait too long, the opportunity is often gone and it's too late. You haven't prioritized yourself because other things have come in the way.
I agree. I hear that all the time. And I reckon that what also might be getting in people's way is that if they stop and unplug and they let their thoughts travel, then they're fearful about what they might find in there, or worse still, that the predictions of what they think they'll find in there might be true.
Absolutely. So it's a really big one, I think, about how to prioritize self-care and prioritize yourself first, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to actually share something about Natalie, who used the analogy of her garden to highlight how she was neglecting her own self-care next. Here's the analogy of Natalie, the garden, and nurture Nectar. Natalie lived in a busy life in a lively town, known for her selflessness and dedication to others. Her home was clean and well cared for, but Natalie neglected her own needs, focusing solely on the well-being of those around her.
One spring, Natalie's once thriving garden began to wither. It was mirroring her own sense of fatigue and discontent. She realised that neglecting her own self care had led to her own decline and her garden's decline.
Natalie hesitated to prioritise herself, feeling guilty about spending time and resources on her own needs. She struggled to balance her responsibilities with her desires. Haven't we all done that at times?
Oh, yeah. And at a weekend market, Natalie met Agnes, an elderly woman who advised her that self care was essential. It's not selfish. Agnes's wisdom inspired Natalie to reconnect with her own needs.
So, embracing Agnes's advice, Natalie began dedicating her time each week to herself. She invested in activities she loved and created a personal care plan. Oh, that sounds like being in a rest home, but anyway, that included relaxation and health. Natalie faced resistance and guilt from those used to her selflessness, and now haven't we all experienced that? Old habits of neglect resurfaced, but she found support from friends, who obviously were fuelers, and a community group, learning to set boundaries.
So, one of Natalie's tasks was to write a heartfelt letter to herself. And this allowed her to reflect on her journey and celebrate her achievements. And it allowed her to deepen her self awareness and reinforce her commitment to herself and self care.
Oh, but then a major family event tested Natalie's commitment to self-care. As stress threatened to undo her progress, she faced the challenge of balancing her new self-care routine with external demands. Oh my God. And how often does this happen that you go back to the family unit and you resurface as the old you, that's so common. Anyway, emerging stronger, Natalie's garden began to bloom again. Reflecting her renewed vitality, she found greater fulfillment and balance, proving the benefits of her self-care efforts. Natalie's transformation was evident to all. Her increased energy and positivity inspired others to prioritize their own well-being, achieving a harmonious balance between caring for others and herself.
And this is where the nurture nectar comes in. Natalie made sure her life was sprinkled with some nurture nectar. Her flourishing garden and enriched life was reflected by her self-nurturing ways. And it was a testament to the power of her self-care. She shared her journey, teaching others that nurturing self is key to personal happiness and feeling like you matter.
Yeah. Okay, so we reckon the essence of the analogy is that first you must nurture yourself. Just like the safety instruction in an aircraft, which encourages you to place your own oxygen mask on before helping others. If you don't do this in your life, then you'll keep arriving in overwhelm overpass or crisis crescent or frustrated freeway or worse, eruption estuary. And believe us, you don't want to leave it until you end up there. Well, are you busy being busy? Does this analogy resonate with you? And in what way?
Well, definitely all of this topic resonates with me. I remember really, really strongly ending up often in crisis crescent, which would come after teaching yoga for a term. And I would often get sick in the first week of the holidays because I hadn't taken the time during my work term to nurture myself. And if you think about it, the universe often provides the space for you to stop and rest if you don't do it yourself. And you might know, or you might know someone who's had an experience like they've moved house and they've been under a lot of stress at work. And a couple of weeks later, they break their ankle and they're made to rest.
Yeah. And that jogs my memory of my own explosive estuary moment when I didn't leave my high pressure, long hours, long travel job when I should have. I didn't listen. Well, I didn't take the time out to nurture, and I didn't listen to the cues which were speaking loud and clear. What happened in the end was I ended up in burnout, way past overwhelm, and it took me 2 years to get back on track. And we really don't want that for you. So, what are your non nurture habits? We all have them. And one of mine, as I alluded to earlier, I think in an earlier podcast, is I notice how long I sit at my computer without getting up. And one of the remedies that's presented itself is our new dog, Freddie, who I have to walk up 4 times a day because he wouldn't take himself out. He's an old guy, and so it's getting me up, every couple of hours, which is fantastic. Okay, it's time to identify your non-nurture habits. We suggest you keep a notebook with you this week so you can observe the times you forget to nurture yourself and write them down. For example, refusing help or not accepting compliments with gratitude. Nurture isn't always physical. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Refusing help or not accepting compliments. So many times people apologize for themselves, and really that says a lot about what we feel about ourselves. So it's time to keep your thoughts in a notebook. Self-nurturing looks different for everyone. What does nurturing look like for you? Strategy number 2, we've called My Nurturing Habits. What you're going to do is to create a list of all the ways you will nurture yourself. And once you've written your list, A, prioritize your list into love it, like it, ho-hum. B, choose 3 from the love it list to do this month. C, make a date with yourself, put yourself first. You know how you'd never miss a work or business appointment? But somehow most people don't make a point of making a calendar entry for themselves. Doesn't that sound like we're putting ourselves or putting the business over ourselves? Often when the unexpected happens, the nurture list goes out the window. So what are some strategies that you could put in place to ensure your nurture priorities are non-negotiable? To truly nurture, here's some ideas you might want to add to your strategy. The number one thing to remember, though, is to go easy on yourself. And if there is a crisis and the nurture habit goes out the window, then definitely stay in a positive frame of mind. In other words, don't beat yourself up. Instead, simply be grateful that you've noticed and trust that you'll get back on track or onto it. It could be that the time frame changes on when and where you nurture, or that you reevaluate how you do it. How about bringing in gratitude into the mix as one of your nurture habits? You could be grateful for your achievements this week and hold gratitude for the simple things in life. This week, we encourage you to take micro moments to breathe and see how that feels for you. I think Blossom had it nailed when she said, "You wouldn't dream of letting your phone run out of battery, would you? Because when you do, you get annoyed because you can't use it. So why do you allow yourself to run out of battery instead of always topping yourself up?" And we think in this modern day and age, this is so relevant. Are you aware that we also have other courses available, like this one called The Love Shift with Your Roadmap to Love? Check out the video clip which is following and visit the link if this floats your boat. Do you long to create shared memories with the right one? I did too. So after the end of my second marriage, I vowed and declared that I wouldn't enter another relationship until I figured it out. And so I did. I've helped others find their path too, like Ian, who said, Fiona's Roadmap to Love is a game changer. It dives deep into love, communication, and self-awareness. The course improved my relationship skills, boosted self-love, and helped me break old patterns. Now I'm with a fantastic partner and have an amazing connection. And Eleanor, who said, just as I started Fiona's coaching program, The Love Shift with Your Roadmap to Love, I met someone and formed a wonderful relationship. I decided to continue with her program, and after every session, my partner and I openly talked through the modules. It was so empowering, and I knew I would have acted differently had I not participated in her coaching program. Hey, so if you want to create shared memories with the right one, then click on the link to grab your free copy of the Love Shift Roadmap, which also gives you some awesome quick strategies that you can implement right away. My name is Fiona Christie, and I look forward to sharing these strategies with you. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode about how to put yourself first by ensuring nurturing is at the top of your list.
Next week, we'll be exploring your accountability, a huge topic for most. We'll discover a great technique to help you move past procrastination so you can get shit done.
If you haven't already, be sure to get on the list so you receive advance notice when our next episode goes live.
Simply head to the website, theawakenguru.com/blog, and sign up for any of the freebies in there, and you'll receive the alerts. So it's bye for now from Diane.
And bye for now from Fiona, and we'll see you on